What's good? I'm Nomad the Native, and you are tuned into The Snippet, a comfortable spot where we let the art spark the conversation. I link with artists, and we take a deep dive into the emotions and context that drive our creativity. So, join us as we connect, collaborate, and converse here on The Snippet. Welcome. What's good? You're watching The Snippet, and I am your host, Nomad the Native, as usual. Today I got my man's Collin. He's a mixing engineer, right?
Yeah, or audio engineer.
Audio engineer, because it's more than just mixing.
Yeah.
But you're my audio engineer.
One of many.
Yeah, dog. And I really appreciate like the work that you do. As a recording musician, I appreciate the work that you do. Because you make everything that I do sound better. Sound so much better. Which is why I wanted to play a snippet from music that we work together, right?
I love it.
And I let you choose, and you told me what song you wanted. So like
Rush Hour.
So let's go into the snippet of this song right quick, and then I kind of want to talk to you about it.
Absolutely, man. Let's do it.
I feel a toll of all that shit I can't control, and then it hits me. Devil been looking around every corner trying to tempt me. Couldn't get me, so then he flipped these distractions and he shoot 'em at me. I pray to God that this nigga miss me. Hard body won't stop dark times from touching us. Screaming, give me the light like Sean, and I ain't puffing much. God gon' make me wait for that, cause I'm in a rush for what? Hit my cousin up, cop the eighth, might just double up. One less thing to worry about for like another month or a week or two, helping me to keep it cool. Clear vision of what the evils do when they help you mentality.
Yeah, dog. I really like that song. So
that might be my favorite one so far.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. So like, which begs the question, why? Why is that the favorite one? What about that song really like connected with you?
I feel like songs have a lot of different like ideas within them that are kind of happening. They're counterpointing off of each other, and I think that we have biases that put in a lot of interesting ideas that each idea I think carries some weight where it pulls the song back a little and then has things that like push the song a little forward. And I just felt like that all the elements in that song were really serving the song. That there wasn't really any like filler in a way to like the different elements. I think that there was space for everything. Like even the ad-libs, like there were so many of them happening, even the toot, but there's nothing else going on around there. So everything just kind of seemed to fit really well together. Like they were all pieces of this missing puzzle coming together, as opposed to like a couple of those pieces that it looks close enough and you kind of hammer it into place, you know, you try to get it to work. Everything, I remember that mix just was very quick because everything was just like built almost for everything around it, as opposed it didn't feel as much bringing a lot of different things together as much as getting some things that were already together and finding their way back together. Yeah,
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I sometimes I think I get so caught up in like the message of what I'm saying that sometimes the construction falls out of my mind, and like other times it's like it just aligns perfectly.
Yeah.
And I think that this song is one of those instances where like we were trying to be mindful and playful with the like with the ad-libs, like saying just enough that there was space for more stuff to happen, but also like adding ad-libs that filled in the space without like crowding it. You know what I mean?
Exactly, yeah.
So
no, it was well placed. It was well arranged.
Thank you, my guy.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. So like you're really passionate about, like every time we talked about music and arts and stuff, you talk passionately. I appreciate that.
I like to. Yeah.
What do you find to be like the thing about your job that like really gets you excited and amped up and passionate?
I think it's just the arts in general, working in the arts in general. It's like whether you're a painter, you're an audio engineer, you're a rapper, you're behind the camera, whatever you're doing. Like what I loved about this ecosystem is that I feel like the vast majority of the world is that it's essentially paying money to punch a ticket stub, where you essentially say, you know, I'm going to do all these things. I'm going to get my high school degree, and then I'm going to go to college. I'm going to get my college degree. And this degree is like the summation of my worth. And that's kind of how society works for the most part. It's the way that we've kind of evolved to work is, you know, there are these certifications and there are these degrees and these courses and all these things.
Proof of value.
Proof of like value, validation, and your worth. But music was never about that. It was, can you play? Okay, then nothing else matters. Like, I don't care if you went to Harvard. I don't care if you didn't graduate high school. Can you play this guitar riff right now? Yes, you're in. No, you're out. And I really loved being judged as someone who didn't do well in school and thought it was just a racket. You know, I was just like, you know, I want to be judged on the things that I do. Like, and that's what I loved. There's like a deep honesty in that where, you know, people are striving to be better. And there's a lot of value on becoming better as opposed to once you get the degree, does it really matter if you're better? Does it even matter if you're good? Does it even matter if, like, you did the work or got D's on all your classes? As long as you have the piece of paper, that's your value. So I feel like society separates us from our value. And I feel like being an artist kind of brings that back together, where you get to feel, you know, like you're doing something that actually is attached to who you are. If that makes sense.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. I wasn't expecting that answer, but I never know what to expect when you start talking.
It's a wild mind up there, you know?
I feel it, bro. I feel it. So, like, with that, what do you feel like are reasonable markers of value in music? Just whether or not you can do it. Like, if you can do it, there's the value.
Yeah, I think, like, you know, the markers for, if we're talking about maybe a musician, I would say, you know, getting your first instrument, you know, taking your first lesson, you know, keeping up with lessons for, you know, anywhere from 6 months, a year, couple of years, playing your first show, going on your first tour, you know, signing your first management deal, writing your first songs like on your own, writing your first songs together with people, you know. Mm-hmm. I think that like the first ones are never going to, I think that people try to put like, again, that value on it where it's like, this has to be like the end all be all, but it's a process of your value. So I think the first song is a great achievement, but like it's never going to be the best song. And I think like then the value is just each time that you see an improvement from that place. I think everyone should take a little bit of joy in that, you know, along the way. Try to remind yourself, you know.
I like that.
Actually, can I tell a quick story?
Of course.
When I went to Berkeley years and years ago on a summer course for guitar, I had a guitar teacher that was teaching us this jazz progression. And like 9/10 of the kids are just, you know, fumbling it up, screwing it up, you know, not making the changes. Everyone's getting really frustrated. And he's like, okay, I want everyone in this room to flip their guitars over. So, you know, if you were righty, you played lefty. Hands. He's like, I know it's not going to sound right, but he's like, I want you to just play G, C, D, like a very simple progression. And everyone is just like
struggling.
Like, how do I strum, you know, this? And he's like, that's where he started. Remember that.
That's hilarious.
And it meant, and I feel like that's really important for you to remember, like, you know, when you're hounding down on yourself or you're further down along in the process, you're like, you got to remember you started with like, you couldn't even strum anything. You didn't know anything. And, you know, trying to keep it into perspective.
Hey, I really like that. Because I think that could apply to anything, exactly. not even just music, but like you find yourself in a process, and especially like, because I tend to be result oriented. Like I'm looking at, all right, when I get to the end result, that's what matters most. Yeah. And in the midst of that, it's easy to take for granted progress.
Very true.
You know what I mean? Because that's what it sounds like you're speaking to is like, remember how much progress you've made, as opposed to hyperfixating on some far off idea that's like worth pursuing. But like, remember, this is iterative. You know what I mean? This is, you're gonna suck today. You're gonna suck a little less tomorrow. You're gonna suck a little less than that, even if it's only 1%. But between today and 2 years from now, if you keep on practicing, you'll be able to look back on this point and be like, oh, I remember I couldn't.
I remember when I couldn't even,
I couldn't get this song.
one bar together.
I couldn't get this progression. I couldn't get the changes. Now I got all the progressions. I got all the changes. I got all
these songs. I got this catalog, and
I like that, man.
And then the dreams change. The dream that the first person writing a song saying like, I dream of like writing, a song that's gonna, do X, have this amount of streams.
Mm-hmm.
The day that you write that song inspires those people, you get all those streams. That person is dreaming about a much bigger number than the person who dreamed it, in the first place.
Yeah. So I feel like,
so you have to remind yourself of that progress. Otherwise, like by the time you get to that point, that of it being a dream, you forget it was a dream, and you need to like remember that. Like I own a recording studio, and I walk down there every day, and half the time I just go, this is my room, this is my basement, this is my office. But like sometimes I have to think about the 18-year-old who had a little Scarlet Focusrite who didn't know like anything about anything, and then realize like there's much more than a Scarlet Focusrite in this place right now, and that the goal is not the same as that kid, but remembering that I once was that person, and that I should, this was a climb. Just because I'm not the tallest peak doesn't mean I haven't climbed a peak.
Fair.
Question.
Answer.
Do you attach skill to value?
Not necessarily. It doesn't have to be, but I think it's generally a good road mark of it. Like, I don't know, it's like something is very likely but not totally the rule. I'm trying to think of an example of where somebody value would not be associated with. I feel like it's not maybe it's a skill to be kind. Would you consider it a skill to be kind? Like, that kindness is a skill?
Yes.
I don't know if I can say kindness is a skill. I think niceness is a skill, but kindness it's like
niceness is a buffer.
Yeah, and that's why I say niceness is a skill, because you can apply niceties to a situation and get through. You may not be a kind person. Kindness is like, kindness to me is akin to
I think it's honesty,
astuteness, or like compassionate, like being compassionate. Like, I don't look at I don't view it through a lens of like skill doing, not doing. It's an element. It's an essence thing. So like, I don't know if I can say kindness is a skill.
Because if we're saying like a skill is like anything that you practice, then I would say like everything is a skill. So then I would say that I would say that value, like I would have to say that all value has to be driven by a skill. Because if everything that you do is a skill that you practice, then it falls into that. But if you're more saying or trying to say something like, me working on a board is a skill, but, somebody like being kind to me, or somebody, picking up my laundry when I don't have time to do it, if those are skills and kindness, then it's all value. But if those are not skills, like if that's just being a human being, I think that there's a lot of value, maybe even like more value, in the way that a person handles themselves and acts. Because it doesn't matter if you're the best drummer in the world. If you're the best drummer in the world who didn't show up to the gig, then you're the worst drummer in the world, because
it's professionalism.
Yeah, you're not here.
Timeliness is skill.
Yeah, that's interesting, Collin. Like just seeing you for the 30 minutes that I've met you, you have this compassionate nature to you, but you have an exacting standard. Mm-hmm. So how do you differentiate true talent and skill versus entertainment and passion? Because now it's like a person can be really good and that's value, but the person on the other side, this person's really passionate, not really good, but entertaining.
Can I chime in?
Yes.
Because I feel like at that point, we're like trying to define value is really based on whoever it's in the eye of the beholder type of thing. Because if I see something as entertaining, I don't care if it's skillful. That has a value. If I see it as entertaining and it entertains me, Who cares what somebody else may be able to identify as the skills of it, or you know what I mean? If you're like, it's those are two different sets of values. I enjoy it because I enjoy it. It don't matter if you like it or not. I enjoy green eggs and ham, Sam. I am. You know what I mean? I like the flavor. I like the color. I like the seasonings. I like the dish itself, like the ingredients that go into the dish. So like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me if it wasn't like cooked by Chef Gordon Ramsay.
Yeah.
Like, I enjoy it because it was something that was made for me, at a time or whatever.
So something that is entertaining is not necessarily skillful.
I don't think it has to be.
Okay.
Not that it can't be. You know what I mean? Like, I think there are a lot of people who enjoy musicians, television shows, actors, whatever, and like the subject of their affection, what they like, whether it be a song, like, it may not be the most skillfully done thing, but if you enjoy it and there's 50 million people enjoying that thing, somebody who makes money off of said thing says the value is in the audience that I have. And that audience, when you come to me to collaborate with me or to partner with me or to sponsor me or to ask, you know what I mean, to ask me to buy into something for you, I can say, I have 50 million people. I got 50,000 people, however many people that engage with me. So you're saying that I don't deserve X amount of money in this partnership or in this contract or in this agreement because of skills that you've identified with my ability to execute a thing. And that's cool. Those are your sets of values.
Yeah.
But if I tell you I got 50,000 people willing to spend $100,000 a piece to come see me at XYZ, or to, you know what I mean, they're willing to spend money to buy into the thing that you're partnering with me on, then my value proposition becomes different from yours, and I get to argue what's yours worth in comparison to what's mine's worth, and what's mine worth to you. It's
different moments.
All of that's subjective. Value. I think all of that is subjective.
Different moments call for different value. For instance, even comparing people like one to one. Like, I'm not gonna name names because I don't want to make anybody feel like better or worse about themselves in this context. But let's say I have two drummers that I know that I use a lot. One's drummer A and one's drummer B. Drummer A is definitely, I can make a lot of arguments to say that drummer A is more talented than drummer B, has a lot more versatility than drummer B, and is, in a sense, can take their instrument to a much more creative, out-of-bounds place than drummer B. But there are many sessions where I don't call drummer A because for that value, you get the trade-off, where if somebody is that creative and that out there, it's really hard to rein that person in. It's really hard in a session to get that person to do what you want them to do as the producer, like saying, I just want you to play this simple thing, and they'll just get bored. And their value is that they get bored. Their value is that that they're trying to push the envelope. And when I have a session that I'm like, man, I want to do something different, I want to do something weird, I'm calling drummer A. But if I've got a session where, it's just a straight pop song and I need like a 4 on the floor and something very simple, like, I'm calling drummer B. It's not that drummer A doesn't have like a lot more talents or skills or things that I could, compare in a blind moment. But when I'm also talking about what somebody does better in a certain situation, how people can respond to people in a better situation, I think that your value increases and decreases in what the moment calls for.
It's all about context.
All about context.
And I think that sometimes the context of value is not always directly tied to skill itself. Because, like, you know what I mean? You can be a good fit skill-wise for something, but maybe you just don't fit the culture of it. You know what I mean? Like a group or a company. And, like, it may, in the rejection of that, or, you know what I mean? You may not get something, or your value may not be appreciated in a particular instance, but that might just mean you need to move towards alignment where your value will be appreciated, and that might be for the best. You know what I mean? If you look at something. That's the exciting
thing. If you're a jazz guitar player and you're trying to make it as a metal guitarist, like, good luck. I mean, you really, I think that's the exciting thing, is that you can look at people in art at like face value and say, wow, this person is like so talented. Or you can look at somebody and go like, wow, that person is really talented at knowing where to be, who to have around them. I think it's like a combination of these things where, it's really just finding your moment. It's like finding that place or that piece where you can like fit in and squeeze into, and then you become a part of the ethos. What are you uniquely bringing to this table? Not trying to like say, I need to be better than all of these people in the way that they're the best. More so like, I need to do something that will be on that par, where I'll be able to stand on that same level, not necessarily on top of this one person. I'm not trying to be Jimi Hendrix. I'm trying to play the guitar that makes people feel something the way that Jimi Hendrix made them feel. But I'm not trying to play like Jimi. I'm trying to be received like Jimi in that sense. Like looking for your own path to get the recognition.
Your own version of it.
Exactly. Not trying to like make these because I feel like as soon as you start doing one-to-ones, you're gonna get, you know,
it's hard to make them add up properly sometimes.
Yeah.
Because different circumstances, different people,
different times, different people. It's too many differences.
Yeah, too many variables.
It's interesting. It's like we're unable. People just don't like to generalize.
Yeah.
So, what is empirical value?
You ever read Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance?
I didn't even know that was a title.
Oh, it's this book about this professor, but like half the book is a philosophical book about how do you define the word quality, and he's like, you know, it's defined by something essentially that defines itself. You know, it's like, what is quality? Like, you only know it when you know it, but like that person's quality is different from that person's quality. Yet there can be, so he's like, subjectivity, a collective quality, you know, tiptoeing around saying like, you know, here, you know, the quality of water in my life is good. I think that's a general quality thing that most people can go around and say. But then you've got like harder things like, I like the Beatles over the Rolling Stones. I like Tupac more than Biggie. I like Kendrick more than both of them. I like listening to Miles more than any of that. It's like the quality.
What you consider quality is subjective because
to everyone.
Yeah, because it's really just based on taste. It's based on taste. And like empiricism is really interesting because like where does empiricism fit in the arts? Like I can see it being like empirically, you can measure sound waves. You know what I mean? You can
the Billboard Awards because they're based on sales.
That's empirical. It's really just, but like when you get to a point where we're like one thing is empirically better than another, I feel like every time you do that, you have to quantify it. You have to qualify the statement because based on what, and then we're back to quality.
Yeah.
Like as soon as you have to start qualifying stuff, we end up right back into based on this quality.
Yeah. Awards.
You look like I have nothing.
I think also like with
you got me.
Like with an award, for instance, like the Grammys as an example are really tough because, you know, everybody has to be a voting member to like vote, and the only way you can be a voting member is if you're nominated for an award, or I think it's like 2 to 3 people within the Academy have to nominate you to be a voting member. So like that's pretty tough to like see the quality and the quantity in that, you know, in that ecosystem. But if let's say the hip hop category was being judged by 3 people, like, and I knew who those 3 people were, you know, and they were 3 prominent like hip hop producers that judged that award, whether or not I would go, you know, that I agree or disagree with the decision that person made, I can look at that small group of people and go like, these are some very intelligent people who have existed in this field for a very long time. And I believe that while they don't have the 100% correct perspective, you know, just off the bat, you know, they don't just own it. Their perspective is probably very well informed and much more so than mine. So I'm willing to yield that between these 3 people, they're probably picking the best for a reason that is probably very personal and close to them, and whether I understand it or not, and
because of
their value and what they've done, they bring a value to the quality of what they have picked. But,
I feel that.
But when you're talking about a mass group of people, it's kind of impossible to find the quality within that because you have no idea what those perspectives are and how those people voted.
There's no such thing as objectivity. I mean, even I feel like in both situations, there's no like if somebody's a quote unquote expert, whenever you ask somebody's input, you're also inviting their bias.
Yeah.
So like, so this expert has a particular way of looking at things, so they're going to constantly look at things through the lens of their expertise, of their experiences. But like, say you're voting on best hip hop act, you know what I mean, for an award, and they're like comparing Sexy Red to Kendrick Lamar to Will Smith. You know what I mean? Like these three different people with three different types of contents, three different types of executions. Granted, they're all rappers and it's technically the same genre, but like there are different tastes to what make each of those acts good and appealing. And it's like, who you like?
Then it's the moment around it. Then it's like
who has the range?
If
like,
Kendrick made a record about like a shooting that had happened in that year, and the other two people made a hip hop record that was just about whatever they made it about, I feel like then in that moment, like you could say like this person seized upon the opportunity of where they were, and you could like lift the bar, and that's just like one example. Is like the idea that like what's really going to happen is it's how people are feeling in that moment and what like what they resonate with. Like how Pumped Up Kids became such a popular song because of the content of what it was and what it was going through. That song come out like 10 years ago or 10 years before. I don't know if it would have been as popular just because the context of the song.
Sensibilities change. So like what society at large has a taste for shifts over time, so it might not have been a hit based on
it's
like 10 years prior would have been closer to like Columbine.
Yeah,
that would have been a little dark. That would have been a little darker than it already was.
Yeah.
You know what? If I'm being quite honest with you, I'm not a fan of awards for art. I'm not a fan of award shows, and like I get it. I'm not even mad at it. Like I view it more through the lens of business. Like you as a person in this particular creative industry, these members of the creative industry that are attached to this particular organization, which may have whatever connections, affiliations, whatever, is recognizing you. So on a business level, this is a good look for me to be recognized by these particular peers in this way.
Yeah.
I can use this as a resume builder. I can use this as a talking point, a negotiation point, and it'll help with certain business things. Yeah. But on a personal level, I've never liked awards. I've never liked the idea of like somebody is better than somebody else at this thing based on because I say so.
Art is tough with that.
Who are you?
Who are you to say? That's why like it's like why I don't like the Billboard Awards. To me, it's just like you want to have an award based on like who sold the most records.
They already got an award, which is like sales.
I mean, that's the thing is like when people are talking about like the Grammys where they're saying like, oh, this person should win. They sold so many records. I'm like, that's what the Billboard Awards are supposed to be for. Fair. You know, that's like, and that's why like with the Billboard Awards, they're very soulless, but at the same time, I think that's why they're very accurate. It's like you're getting an award because you sold the most albums. There's no debate in like the difference between two numbers and which is higher and which is lower. Yeah. So that's very good. But then when we're talking about art, I think everybody, you know, in this room, in the outside world can agree that like just because something sells the most does not mean it holds the most value or the most quality or pushes anything further or anything. It just means that the most people knew about it, the most people picked up their phone and bought it, the
easiest thing to monetize.
It was a successful monetization of an artistic product. That is what it is.
So you guys believe that expression is more important than an expectation?
Yes.
Elaborate.
It's like we can always agree on what's bad. We can never agree on what's good.
See, but no, I don't think that's a true statement. Because we can't always agree on what's bad. That's why people do stuff and people be like, why would you even do that?
From a dark standpoint, when it gets damped and deep, we can all agree, like, yeah, maybe that's not a good idea.
I don't know.
I think when it comes to bad, there are definitely a lot more things that are noticeable where something is bad. For instance, like if someone's singing off key or off time or
okay, so you gotta be specific
or something like that, because I think it's a lot easier to
go ahead. No, go.
It's a lot easier to point out what's wrong with something than what's right with something. Mm-hmm. I think it's a lot easier to nitpick someone down than to actually, because I think also as a human being, giving a compliment, I think a lot of people feel that the second that they give somebody a little value, that somehow it's as if they're taking a little value out of their coin purse and handing it to their coin purse. And if there's some kind of transaction here, I think it's a lot harder for the average person to just go, great job on doing that, and not feel as if that takes away anything that they're doing. Like, two people playing the same game, like two soccer players on the same pitch, being able to say, great kick, great score, not feeling that it means that they score like worse or that they kick worse.
To uplift somebody else doesn't mean it doesn't to diminish.
While on the opposite side, I feel that a lot of those players, as somebody who used to play sports, is, when you yell at somebody and you're like, that sucked, it makes you feel good, makes you feel righteous, makes you feel like I'm not screwing up, so that makes me better than this person. That makes me feel good. So it's a lot easier for someone in, I think, any context to nitpick at something than it is for them to actually like shake somebody's hand and say, you did a really good job on that, and to separate. Also, if there is bad and good, I think it's a lot harder to say the good when there's bad than to say the bad when there's good.
But also, so there are things that are there are things that people enjoy that somebody would say, oh, that's bad. I personally, because I'm a rapper and because I like a certain type of rap, some people doing off-kilter flows. There's things that are not necessarily, they feel like the flows drag and they don't necessarily keep a certain amount of time. Somebody like Blueface, I don't necessarily enjoy his music. There are people who love his music. So something that in my mind I'd be like, yo, that particular execution is bad. I'm not a fan of it. And that's why I lean on. It's just not for me. I'm not a fan of it, because something that my intuition would tell me is bad. Somebody else, there are a bunch of other people that are like, "Yo, this joint is great. I love this. When is he dropping another?" So you're talking about qualitative things, and qualitative things are subjective, which is why I don't like awards. Because who are you to tell me
this is better or worse?
This is better or worse. And even if you are, what if I disagree? What if remember that one time when Macklemore won over Kendrick?
Do you find your value in personal qualitative things?
I'm finding that I'm happiest when I define what makes me when I define things for myself. So if I know what I feel is good or bad, and I move in the way of good and away from the way of bad, I feel good by that. I feel better when I move like that than when I move in the way of other people told me this is good and other people told me this is bad. So I'm going to move this way because other people told me, or I was pressured, or society taught me, or I was programmed, as opposed to, did I take time to think for myself? Do I like this? Does this resonate with me? Does this resonate with my values? I'm going to move in this direction as opposed to that direction. So to an extent, when I define it for myself, when I pick what's good or what's quality, and I move in the direction of that more than an external influence or what have you, I feel like I get more out of it.
Does it matter that your audio engineer likes you as an artist?
Definitely.
I think it does.
It definitely.
And I don't think it's absolutely mandatory if they're able to do the job, but there's a certain amount of rapport that I feel is.
So what people think matter if you're going to work with them?
Yes.
From the
but that doesn't take away from me at all. That doesn't take away from what I think matters. If he has input on something, like for instance, we've been working on songs, like mixes and the mastering of stuff. If I give him a song, no reference, like here, just mix it to your knowledge, and then I come in, which I've done, and I'm like, I didn't like this, I didn't like that, and he was just doing what was natural, what he liked, what he felt was befitting of the record. As long as we can maintain a relationship of like all right, I got this idea. It's different from what your idea is. Let's execute this idea. And he's like, all right, well, you're paying me.
Yeah.
And I respect you. I respect your opinion enough to not like give you a hard time about something that is to your taste. Not like, yeah, I want you to distort all the vocals so that it makes your ears bleed. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want you to hurt nobody. I don't want it to be like completely.
Yeah, it's just interesting because there's a certain level of delusion that as an artist that you need to have.
You saying
like
delusion?
People don't perform to a mirror. You perform to an audience.
This is true.
I wouldn't say a delusion. I would say a belief, because it's only a delusion if it's wrong, but you don't know if it's wrong.
I think it's a delusion in the sense that you have to not care about anybody's perceived notion about you to show up,
but I don't.
And then figure out the feedback.
I don't think it has to be either or.
I think like you have to believe, like, you know, before I built my studio, you know, I believed that I was going to build it. Like, nobody else might have believed it, but I mean, I believed it. And then slowly you get people to believe it. I think that if I had
100%.
believed it and that nobody, and then I didn't build the studio, then it would have been proven to be a delusion, because then it's something that isn't real, like a mirage. But like the belief, to have faith in yourself, to have faith in what you do. I mean, and that also, back to the audio engineer, like I've had people that come to me and they're like, yo, I want to do like a speed metal album in your place. And I'm like, listen, I don't really listen to speed metal. Like, I'll listen to any genre of music as long as there is passion behind it, as long as the people who are making it genuinely because they love making music. I've done almost any genre under the sun, and those are the successful projects. Those are the ones that we worked well together. It doesn't matter if I'm working in a genre that I love or hate, like well, I don't hate any genres, but one I love or one that I'm like less familiar with, you know, as long as the people are like actively trying to make like art and they're caring about that, then we always have a good time. The downside, which I always like try to caveat, and we had that conversation where I was like, most of the work that I do falls into this genre. So because of that, and I've had so many releases in these genres, I kind of understand so much more of like what I'm looking for, and particularly what you're looking for. Like I understand a lot more of the references. So it puts me into a different framework where I'm like, you know what, I feel like I have a good idea of the history of hip hop and I've listened to a lot of records, but like, because I'm not actively doing the work like within that genre, it means that there are things that, like something in the rock and roll genre, live band genre, a lot of things I might make like suggestions that I won't have that knowledge base to make those suggestions. It's not to say that I can't carry out the work, but I'm just going to be probably in the beginning a lot more quiet because I'm going to be listening as opposed to like conveying an experience. If a band walked in and they're like, this is the first record we're making, I'd be like, well, I've recorded bands for like, 15 years. So like these are the ways that we should do this. But if I never recorded a band before, but I knew how to record, I wouldn't have that advice to give. So I think it's really just dependent on like
situation.
I guess my point is we don't do artistry for ourselves.
No.
I don't think solely, but
not solely.
I do think that there is I feel like it's not an either or. Like
it's not a 50-50.
It's not an either, and I think that percentage is different for different people. Like I don't for somebody it may be 50-50. Like but if you're communicating, like because like he and I keep coming up with this. We keep coming back to this conversation: communication versus expression, and in art specifically, because when you're expressing something, it's not expression is a one-player game.
Yeah. Communication
is multiplayer, and I think if the goal is to communicate something and express, then you're finding a balance between saying something in a way that will be received and land and responded to, but also saying something that is true to who you are. And I think that everybody does that on a regular basis. We're doing it in conversation right now. You're like, he's expressing himself for the trueness of who he is and what he believes, but he's also trying to like say it in a way that we can understand what he means and see his perspective. And even if we don't agree, can respect that. Okay, I see what you're saying. I hear you. Yeah. So we want to end up. How do you feel about before we go? How do you feel about it? Do you feel like art in general, or the art that you do, is more so a thing of expression or a thing of communication?
I think it's just both. I mean, to end it all, I think my favorite thing about music has always been, tell me something that humans do where you can get 250,000 people in a room together and they can all do the same thing together without being told, or just naturally, and nobody's going to hurt anybody, and it doesn't matter like who their neighbor is next to them, that they somehow feel like they have something in common with them, and that thing is not based on a competition. It's not a sport. It's not like you're rooting for somebody to defeat somebody. Like, everybody in that room is united on whatever is on the stage. Can you tell me something that we do that is like that? Like, that to me is the most thing. It's communication and expression. The expression of this artist is allowing all of us to communicate. Like, we are able to have this moment together. I'm able to talk to my friends and express myself through music, and that is the communication. So to me, it's like they kind of tie into each other. I get the difference that you're making, where you're saying like, I can express myself in a room, but to be able to like get somebody to understand, I need to communicate it. So, but to me, I feel like music kind of just ties the two ends together really well. It does it naturally, where someone expresses themselves, and that allows people to feel that they can communicate.
Yeah, I agree.
Music is the bridge between communication and expression.
I think that would be a great way to put it.
Art in general. But I'm biased, so yes, music, specifically music. All right, hey man, I think we should wrap it here, but this was great.
This was a pleasure, man.
Great. I knew it was going to be a good conversation. I knew it. So thank you for coming through.
Pleasure.
You're a great guy, Collin.
You're a great guy, man.
Hey man, this is the Snippet, and I hope you're doing good. I hope you're okay. You and your folks. No, I'm willing.
Stay hydrated, Stay hydrated.
Take care of yourself. Be good. I'm out.
Might just double up. One less thing to worry about for like another month or a week or two. Helping me to keep it cool. Clear vision of what the evils do, and a healthy mentality of the distance to keep in between me and you.
Hey, yo. Hey, son. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this episode. And if so, then comment, like, subscribe, follow, disagree, whatever. I mean, this is a show by the artist for the artist. So, if you want to be featured, just hit us. There ain't nothing but an email or a DM away. Until next time, peace.